Today we got two powerful dragons going head to head. Smaug taking on Drogon. Who comes on top? Well, let's find out.
Eyes up. Stay sharp. Stay down. Final warning. I could do this all day.
Smaug was a flying fire dragon of the Third Age, drawn towards the enormous wealth by the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain. He laid waste to the neighboring city of Dale and conquered the Lonely Mountain, driving the surviving dwarves into exile. For the remaining years of his life, Smaug cached the treasure to himself, staying within the mountain until a company of dwarves managed to enter the Lonely Mountain and awaken him from his slumber. Smaug is said to be stronger than most dragons, as he's able to shake the mountain roots, and just him flying makes a noise like a hurricane and cracks pine trees and knocks them over. He's dented iron gates, knocked over massive pillars. He will smash rocks with his tail, and eventually knocked over part of the Lonely Mountain. Just the force of his laugh is enough to knock Bilbo Baggins over. Smaug's also incredibly durable. It is claimed that his scales and armor is like 10 shields, that no blade can pierce through his hide. Arrows actually just ricochet off of him. He's withstood being submerged into molten gold, and his body's actually covered in treasure, essentially giving his own pseudo-body armor. However, Smaug does have one weak spot in his underbelly that isn't covered by treasure, and when an arrow hit that spot, he's pretty much instantly killed. Smaug's fire breath is also insanely powerful, being able to set the forest on fire and blast the mountainside with his flames. He's also able to fire a more focused napalm blast, destroying buildings, obliterating watchtowers, and even blew through the main gates of Erebor. Smaug is so powerful, in fact, he's able to kill large armies of dwarves all by himself, and his senses are so heightened that he can still smell and hear Bilbo when he's got the One Ring on and is invisible. So as we got in one corner, Smaug from The Hobbit. But, into the ring at the corner, from Game of Thrones, Drogon. Drogon is one of the dragons born in the Dothraki Sea, along with Viserion and Rhaegal. He's named after Daenerys' late husband, Khal Drogo. He is distinguishable by his black and red color scales and red-black wings, and is the largest and most aggressive of the three hatchlings. Drogon is noticeably larger than both Viserion and Rhaegal, and over the course of the series, he grew considerably larger, from the size of a kitten to the size of a large whale. Initially, just the luck of the draw in terms of biology, is that it hurt that his two siblings spent over a year chained up, while Drogon remained free to hunt and fly at his leisure, allowing him to become larger than them. Being a dragon, Drogon has immense physical strength, and can spit destructive streams of fire. It's also implied that physically, he is the strongest of the three dragons. He can also fly extremely high and at great speeds, faster than any horse, really faster than any other animal. During the Battle of King's Landing, Drogon's fire was shown to be strong enough to demolish the city buildings, including the Red Keep, and blast the city gates. Drogon is also the least shy of the three dragons, albeit the far more aggressive of the three. He's easily agitated and quick to anger. He's incredibly loyal and protective of his mother, will fight viciously in order to defend her, even ignoring his wounds if need be, like when he attacked the Sons of the Harpy in Daznak's pit. He also cares greatly for Rhaegal and Viserion, roaring in anger when the Night King killed Viserion and destroying the Iron Fleet after the death of Rhaegal. He even destroyed the Iron Throne itself after he discovered that Daenerys had been killed. So, who wins? Well, let's break it down. Now, these are two of the most iconic dragons and two of the most iconic fantasy franchises of all time, so it kind of just makes sense to throw these two together in a fight. And the question is, which one of these two is coming out on top? And just to clarify here, we'll be using the positive versions of both dragons, meaning we're going to be including both the Hobbit book and the Hobbit movies, as well as the Game of Thrones TV series and the Song of Ice and Fire books. Now, the first question we got to answer, just how big are these two dragons? Because size is actually a super important factor when it comes to fights between animals, especially fights between dragons. Now, with Smaug in the book, Well, his actual size is unknown. It was never explicitly stated, and even the illustrations by Tolkien are kinda all over the place. The most that we really get from the books is when Tolkien said that the secret tunnel, a 5-foot tall door and passage wide enough for 3 people to walk through together, was too small for the dragon even when he was young. And when Smaug was fully grown, well, he only could put the tip of his nostril into the passageway. Then in the Atlas of Middle-earth, Smaug is said to be 60 feet long, but it's not really clear if this is actually considered canon or not. On the other hand, in A Dance with Dragons, Drogon had wings that stretched approximately 20 feet across. So, smaller than Smaug, but not incredibly smaller. However, since we're using composite versions of the dragons, that means we get to use the movies and the TV shows, and they greatly increase the size of both dragons for the screen. For Drogon in Game of Thrones, well, he's an incredibly young dragon, but he's grown tremendously since the show first started. In Season 3, he started off with just the size of a small dog, growing to the size of a large dog by the end of the season. Season 4, growing to the size of a small horse. Season 5, growing to the size of a killer whale, which is actually the first time that Daenerys mounted Drogon, but after that, things begin to get real murky. However, we do know that in an interview with EW in prep for Season 7, Drogon is the size of a 747 airplane, meaning he's 230 feet long with a 210-foot wingspan. So, really big, and it's only presumable that he got bigger come Season 8. However, Smaug is larger, no way around it. In fact, it's actually twice the size of Drogon, considering the VXF supervisor Joe Lettieri said that Smaug was clocking in at roughly twice the size of a 747 that designed him to have his physical size dominate. And that is such a key factor in this fight and wildly swings it in Smaug's favor. Generally speaking, doubling the length of a dragon triples or even quadruples its weight, meaning that Smaug can whip to as much as 4 Drogons. Smaug is also a whole lot stronger. That is backed up by his feats, being able to smash over massive pillars, dent his way through iron gates, being able to bust up part of the Lonely Mountain, and just the force of him flying, is able to make a noise like a hurricane and make pine trees creak and crack. He's also a whole lot more durable, as arrows ricochet off of him, and Smaug boasts that no blade can pierce him. Well, for the most part, Drogon is even hurt by normal spears and weapons like that. And yes, Smaug is a pretty significant weak spot, as there's one little piece of his underbelly that's not covered by treasure. When an arrow struck him in that one particular spot, pretty much instantly died. However, this is a weak spot that Drogon wouldn't know about, and the dragon is really ill-equipped to take advantage of that. The only area where Drogon has an advantage could be his fire, as the fire actually seems to operate in a special sort of way. I mean, people caught and are literally just a pile of dry ash only a few seconds later. On the other hand, dwarves wearing masks would withstand the fire and heat from one of Smaug's forefathers. So the dragon fire in Lord of the Rings actually seems to be a whole lot more just like normal fire. But Smaug is also a dragon, so fire isn't able to stop him, and Smaug even has powerful fire as well, being able to destroy buildings, blow through the main gates of Erebor, reignite the dwarves' massive forge, and carpet bomb Lake Town. Then, one last thing we gotta talk about. The Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones franchises, while both still fantasy, operate kinda differently. Game of Thrones is about as realistic as you can get while still in a fantasy world with dragons and magic. While Lord of the Rings plays a bit looser of realism with the franchise, and it really leans into the fantasy elements. And because of that, Smaug can talk, and he's actually highly intelligent. He'll plot, brood, he's got centuries of experience, and is easily as smart as most humans, if not smarter. On the other hand, Drogon seems to act like a dog. Granted, a highly trained dog, but still a dog nonetheless. So, end of the day, who wins? Well, it's gotta be Smaug. He's roughly twice as large, is stronger and more durable, is much, much smarter, and while Drogon's fire might be able to kill people faster, Smaug's fire is still powerful enough to destroy whole towns and knock down fortresses. And Dragon is also essentially immune to fire on top of that. Smaug is just better here, in almost every single way. And you know who agrees? Good old George R.R. Martin. During an interview to promote his new book, Martin was asked about an online argument over where Drogon could beat Smaug, And this is what he had to say. Basically, no. Drogon is a very young dragon, and still barely large enough to get down into the sky. Smaug is gigantic. Not to mention that Smaug talks and probably have an intellectual advantage. So, there you have it. Not even George R.R. Martin believes that Drogon can beat Smaug. Then I think we got our first completely definitive answer here on this channel. Smaug is the superior dragon. Smaug wins. But what do y'all think? I would love to hear your thoughts. Sign off in the comments down below. Also, be sure the like button, the subscribe button, turn on notifications, join the Fanco army, and I will see you next time.